Receive a gift or donation from a generous family member or friend recently, or maybe you've just donated money, shares, or even a house to someone you felt deserved it. Either way, if you, the giver or receiver of a donation or gift, you should know that SARS needs to be notified of these donations. Plus, you should understand how to declare them from a tax perspective. Let's find out more. How do I calculate donations tax? If you've received the donation, the donee, once you've received a donation or gift, then the good news is that it's 100% tax-free, i.e., you won't be taxed on it. There's no tax consequence for you as a beneficiary, but you must remember to declare it in your tax return, the ITR 12, as an amount considered non-taxable. So you must declare it in your tax return, the ITR 12, as an amount considered non-taxable. This is to make sure that you are declaring all of your income to SARS, including the non-taxable bits. There is one exception to this though. If the donor, the person who gave you the donation or gift, does not pay the donations tax on time, then the donor and you, as the donee, become equally responsible for the tax. You certainly don't want to be paying taxes on a gift. So if you've ever on the receiving end of a large gift, i.e. above 100,000 Rand, make sure you raise these important tax consequences with the donor. If you're the one making the donation, the donor, if you've been the generous giver, you're liable for donations tax, which is calculated at a flat rate of 20% on the value of the donation or gift, up to 30 million Rand. If the donation exceeds 30 million Rand, then the amount over and above 30 million will be taxed at 25%. However, there is some good news. Donations tax only kicks in once you've donated more than 100,000 Rand in a single tax year. In other words, you can make multiple donations in a tax year, and as long as the total value of the donations doesn't exceed 100,000 Rand, you won't have to pay any donations tax at all. Please note that donations made to organizations that are not registered as PBOs with SARS is not tax deductible. This means that it won't aid in reducing your tax liability with SARS. Repeat that. Please note that donations made to organizations that are not registered as PBOs with SARS is not tax deductible. This means that it won't aid in reducing your tax liability with SARS. Here's an example. Peter has had a great year and his business is doing well. He'd like to share some of his good fortune with his friends and family. First, he gives his friend Willem a cash check for 10,000 Rand because he knows they've been struggling to pay school fees. Then he decides that he no longer needs that old car gathering dust in the garage. So he gives it to his daughter, who's at university, valued at 60,000 Rand. Finally, he sends his nephew, who wants to propose to his long-term girlfriend, a gift of 40,000 Rand to help pay for the wedding. What will Peter have to pay in donations tax? We first need to calculate the total value of his donations for the tax year. 10,000 Rand to his friend, 60,000 Rand to his daughter, and 40,000 Rand to his nephew. So his total donations for the year is 110,000 Rand. Remember that donations tax threshold is 100,000 Rand. So Peter is only liable for 20% tax on the amount over and above that, which in this case is 10,000 Rand. Therefore, Peter will pay donations tax of 20% multiplied by 10,000 Rand, which equals 2,000 Rand. How do I pay donations tax? After making a donation, the donor needs to fill in an IT 144 form and send it to SARS. It's important to know that donations tax must be paid at the end of the month following the month during which the donation was made, and that it's not part of your normal tax return, and payment must be made through e-filing. So just repeat that. After making a donation, the donor needs to fill in an IT 144 form and send it to SARS. It's important to know that donations tax must be paid at the end of the month following the month during which the donation was made, and that it's not part of your normal tax return. Payment must be made through e-filing. A few questions. I gave my mother and sister 25,000 Rand each. Can I deduct it as an expense against my income? And how much donations tax should I pay? You can't deduct this kind of expense. You will also not have to pay tax on it, as it was a donation in a tax year for less than the 100,000 Rand threshold, meaning that your donations are tax-free. I'm a South African citizen who would like to receive a monetary gift from my sister who is in the UK, who is a UK citizen only. Is there any tax implication for me? Donations tax is payable by the donor and not you, the recipient. Therefore, there are no tax implications for you. However, you need to disclose it in your tax return as an amount not considered taxable. So I'm a South African citizen who would like to receive a monetary gift from my sister who is in the UK at the moment, who is a UK citizen. Are there any tax implications for me? Donations tax is payable by the donor and not you, the recipient. Therefore, there are no tax implications for you. However, you need to disclose it in your tax return, the ITR 12, as an amount not considered taxable. So you have to disclose it in ITR 12 as an amount not considered taxable. Also, there is no donations tax payable on donations from a foreign resident to a South African resident, as long as the funds donated are from a foreign source, i.e., from work your sister has performed in the UK. So the side part of that is that if a South African who is working in the US or the UK, then donates to a South African, the source technically is a South African source because it's a South African citizen. Remember, it's residence-based tax. My father has sold his house at a discounted price to my eldest sister, and some of the proceeds of the sale will be split between the remaining siblings. What are the tax implications for my father? And is there any way to minimize the taxes which he will have to pay? The difference between the market value of the house, confirmed by the property assessor, and the discounted price will be considered a donation, and therefore will be subject to donations tax of 20%. However, there is an annual exemption of 100,000 Rand per person per year. So only the donation made exceeding 100,000 Rand will be taxed. In addition to the donations tax payable on the discount, he will need to pay donations tax on the proceeds that he distributes to his other children. Your father could also distribute the proceeds over multiple years in order to take advantage of the 100,000 Rand annual exemption. I want to donate 120,000 Rand as a gift to a friend to help him pay back a loan. Does this attract tax? Yes, it will. it will attract donations tax of 20,000 Rand multiplied by 20% if you donate the full amount in 1 year. However, since the annual donations exemption is 100,000 Rand per tax year, you can split the gift over 2 tax years so that it falls below the donations tax threshold, i.e. 60,000 Rand in the first year and 60 in the second year. Then there will be no donations tax that you have to pay. Will my husband be expected to pay donations tax on cash he transfers to me for safekeeping? No. A donation between spouses is tax-free, and you won't need to declare it on your tax return. So donations between spouses are tax-free, and you don't have to declare it on your tax return.